Sergeant Gray from Kids Guitar Academy here, and today you're going to learn a classic song by Elvis Presley, also known as the King of Rock and Roll. This song is so beautiful, it'll bring tears to your eyes, but it better not, because tears are for wimps. We'll be playing a chord melody arrangement of this song, which means we'll be playing both the chords and the melody at the same time. Here's an example of just the melody. And here's an example of the chords and the melody played at the same time. As you can see, you can still clearly hear the melody. In the chord melody guitar style, the melody will always be played as the highest note in each chord. That being the case, it's imperative that you play each chord accurately. If your pick accidentally picks the string above the string the melody is on, you will lose the melody. Mission failure. The most effective way to bring out the melody notes in each chord is to use a rake rather than a strum. With a strum, you're picking all the strings at the same time. With a rake, you are slightly separating the sound of the strings. To do this, angle the pick slightly downward and gently allow it to fall through the strings. If you do it correctly, you will hear the sound of each individual string as you rake. Some guitar cadets think of a rake as a slow-motion strum. Using a rake will help bring out the melody as you move from chord to chord, since the melody note will always be the last note picked in each chord. Alright, now you know everything you need to know. Let's jump into the tutorial. Alright, so this song only has two sections. It has a verse section and a bridge. Once you get these two sections down, you'll be able to play the entire song. This song is going to make extensive use of our triads. In case you don't know, triads are three-note chord shapes that enable you to take any chord and play it in any position on the neck. This is important because we need to be able to put a chord underneath each melody note, no matter where that melody note falls on the fretboard. Alright, so here's the first phrase of the verse. Okay, so we're starting with a D triad on the second string set. Make sure you've got the third finger on the fourth string, followed by first and then second finger on the second string. Next, you're moving up to an F sharp minor chord in the fifth position on the first string set, strings 1, 2, and 3. This looks exactly like a D minor chord. It's just moved up the fretboard to the fifth position, which makes it an F sharp minor. After that, you're going to return to the second string set and do this B minor chord. Once again, this is a familiar chord shape. We usually play this as an A minor. Move it up 2 frets and it becomes B minor. Now you want to take your first finger and do a slide from the 5th fret of the second string to the 7th. Make sure you use your first finger because that will enable you to quickly get into the G major shape. You'll recognize this shape as the very first shape we played down here, which was D. Move it up the fretboard, it becomes G. Now bar the first finger across the 7th fret in order to get the D. Notice that we only need to put pressure on strings 2, 3, and 4 in order to get this chord. Now we move the fingers in diagonal in order to get the last chord, which is A. Once again, make sure that you're only picking on strings 2, 3, and 4 so that you don't distort the melody. Alright, So let me play through this phrase slowly. Now right here at the end of the fourth bar, you have a pickup note which is going to lead you into phrase 2. Here's what phrase 2 sounds like. 2, 3, 4. Alright, so as I mentioned, we're going to start with a pickup note, which is on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. As soon as we play that, we're going to move that first finger up 2 frets to the 4th fret, and we're going to move into a G major triad. You will recognize this shape as an E major chord, but when moved up 3 frets, it becomes G. Now we move it up 2 more, and it becomes A. We're going to move up 1 more fret and reconfigure our fingering for the B minor. Now we have a series of 6s. These are called 6s because the notes are a 1/6 apart. For example, on this 3rd one, we have a B note in the bottom and a G note in the top. For those of you that can count, those are 6 notes in the musical alphabet apart. There's 2 ways to play these 6s. For one thing, you want to make sure you keep the middle finger on the lower string, in this case, the 4th string. When you play them, you can either use the pick on the lower string and then the middle finger on the 2nd string, plucking them at the same time. Or, if that's too difficult for you, you could use the middle finger to rub against the 3rd string, muting it out. That way you can pick through the 3 strings. After you play through those, you're going to once again bar the 7th fret to get the D chord, moving back to the A, and then down to the D. Notice that the A and the D both share the 3rd finger on the 4th string. This can help you make a smooth transition as you move from one chord to the next. You use the 3rd finger as a guide finger, taking you to the next chord. Alright, so let me play through phrase 2 slowly. 2, 3, 4. Alright, now once you're able to put those 2 phrases together, you'll be able to play through the verse in its entirety. Repeat through it twice before moving on to the bridge. The bridge mostly contains a 1-bar phrase that is repeated 3 times. To play this phrase, you'll need to bar the 1st finger across the 2nd fret of the top 3 strings. You're then going to bring your 3rd finger down to the 4th string 4th fret. Now here you're only playing strings 2, 3, and 4. But as soon as you do, you want to make sure you're putting pressure on the 1st string so that you can catch that 2nd fret note that comes right after. Now if you're really bad at your bar chords, you can ditch the 3rd finger and only bar the top 3 strings. In this case, you're only going to play strings 2 and 3, and then you're going to add that top note. Now as you saw, once I hit that 2nd fret note, I dropped the pinky down to the 5th fret and then slid up to the 9. This will keep the other fingers in position for the C#7 chord. Once again, you're going to use a bar across the 8th fret, adding the 2nd finger on the 7th fret of the 1st string. If barring across all 4 strings is too tough for you, you can cheat by barring across just the top 3 strings like before. Alright, so here's phrase 1 played slow. 3, 4. At this point, we're going to move back into the F# chord we played in the verse section before dropping down to a B7 on string set 2, 3, and 4. Here I'm using my 3rd finger on the 4th fret, 1st on the 2nd fret, and then the pinky on the 4th fret of the 2nd string. We're then going to move up to the 1st string to play 3 melody notes, before moving to an E minor chord, which is identical to the F# minor you just played, but 2 frets lower. Followed by an A7 in the 1st position. Here's that 2nd phrase played slow. 3, 4. That's the bridge in its entirety. Alright, so at this point in the song, you're going to repeat the verse one more time. Then you're going to take phrase 2 and repeat just that part. Notice that I applied a slight retard, a slight slowing down of those last 3 chords for an extra dramatic effect. Now that you've learned the different parts of the song, it's time to put them together using the play-along. So make sure that guitar is in tune, and remember, failure is for losers. Good luck. Well, I hope your play along went well. And if it didn't, then keep practicing. And I better not see any complaints in the comments that this was difficult to play. This is easy. You just need to practice more. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel.